Welcome to Tabletop Tactics with myself, Lawrence, and to my right we have James the Bard, and to my left we have Joe the Beard. We're here to talk about the Balance Dataslate today.
Crazy.
Okay. I've laid down the sledgehammer here with some big changes. In fact, the Earth is quaking as a result.
Yeah.
I feel like a newsreader.
We're going to go through them all as they're hot off the press. And you guys can let us know what you think in the comments. We've definitely got some opinions already. Yeah. Some really interesting changes. Why don't we kick off with the general changes first? Mr. Beard, let's do this.
Well, there's a couple of changes to the core rules. Previously, there were some abilities, much like prognosticated arrival, as an example.
I'm a big fan of the Grey Knights. They're my favourites. You're not going to change my prognosticated arrival, are you?
I am.
Oh.
By reading this here change. So previously, you could arrive within 3 inches of enemy units. Now, I'm afraid, you're going to have to double that to 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just me or everyone?
Everyone.
I understand.
Yeah, so this will apply to any unit that has that type of ability. Right. Denizens of the Warp, for example.
Meteoric descent.
You still can't charge, but you've got to be 3 inches further away now. So 6 inch.
Yeah, and it's done in the movement phase. It can't be done through things like rapid ingress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it effectively it's sort of like
arrive closer.
It's rewording, and you'll see throughout the dataset some of the changes to factions are just to update their version of that.
Right,
it is everyone. No one's escaped.
Okay.
There's one more.
Yep.
One more, quite big one, I think.
Core change?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I just ask you one question first?
Okay.
What's your immediate thought on why they changed it to more than 3 inches?
I suppose so. It's not so easy to come down and just pinch an objective off someone.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. I was just curious on your take.
Yeah.
It seems so. Obviously, there's probably abuse about just. I mean, I suppose it is a feels bad. You got one unit on an objective, person goes, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. It sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes it a little bit harder to get off, but it's still super powerful for stuff like Plasma Inceptors or Tau Crisis Suits that have those abilities. It's still great, it's just...
If you want to come down and nuke something, that's not going to change at all, because generally, even if you've got like a melter weapon, you're still probably... Well, that's actually with Melter now, actually, you wouldn't necessarily be in Melter range anymore, because you would need to be more than 6
That's
away.
right.
Yeah. Anyway, it's probably a fair enough change.
What's the next change?
The other one is stratagems that worsen armor penetration. So much like Armor of Contempt.
Okay. True silver armor.
Unfailingly obdurate. All that kind of stuff.
Okay.
This will now only apply to a unit when they're targeting you. So if you reduce the AP characteristic by 1, that doesn't then apply to the rest of the phase.
Okay. So
only apply one and done.
Only applies to that one unit.
Okay. So they obviously felt that this was probably being a little bit too much abused.
Yeah.
I mean, mainly by power armor armies at this point, right?
Yeah, especially because a lot of those armies do also have quite easy access to characters that can reduce it to 1. Yeah. So effectively, a Space Marine captain is kind of always going to have always on Armor of Contempt.
Yeah.
That is still possible. This can still be like, ha, Armor of Contempt. But now you don't get it for the whole phase.
Yeah.
You have to pick what you're going to use it against.
It's a significant nerf.
It is a significant change. Yeah.
It's a significant nerf.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. Fair enough. Cool. All right. And that's the main core rules changes, is it?
Yeah. That's it. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, but there are some crazy things in the faction rules.
All right, so you want to jump right into the faction rules then?
Right. The big one that you want to see is Space Marines, and there are chapters below. So if you want to skip to Space Marines, I would say just join us for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Make yourself a cup of tea, get yourself an alcoholic beverage if you're that way inclined. Make a coffee or just a glass of water, maybe a snack. Because most of the factions have had pretty big changes.
Yeah, because I would say also the shadow of Space Marines isn't to discredit the other changes to other factions as well. But, that's going to be a whole bit. But please, Mr. Bit.
So Adepta Sororitas, as we know, have been doing some work in the old competitive scene. They've been winning tournaments, winning all sorts of stuff.
They've been performing miracles everywhere.
They have. Very good.
We thought it would be a spicy book, and it has been.
Yeah. So one of the big changes to their army rule for their Acts of Faith is now that you only get miracle dice at the start of each battle round, not at the start of each turn. So it is harder to generate the miracle die.
Okay, so you've already halved the dice potential there.
And
then
And
what
at
more?
any point where you gain a miracle dice for an ability,
Yep.
for instance, so let's say you're a Repentia,
Yep.
finally get what they want and they die.
Yeah.
Your miracle die gained from that unit, you then get at the end of the phase. So you can't use it straight away anymore.
Okay.
And it's also if one or more as well, which is a bit of a
That
change.
means that you can only have one. You can only generate one die per phase, then, in theory. And that would probably come from the shooting and combat.
So it has quite reduced the amount of miracle die you're likely to
Yeah, you're going to get a lot less. That's a lot less.
Yep.
Fair enough. I mean, that is a huge nerf if you're a Sisters player, and I can imagine there'll be those of you out there which are, not happy with that, and I can understand that because you've had all your toys, you've had all your dice, you've been taken away. From a balance standpoint, though, I find like it's the same with Aeldari Fate dice. Like anything which allows you to predetermine a roll. It's just so it's so powerful, and it's also it's not that fun for your opponent, is it? Like if I know that there's literally no point in me shooting my one-shot macro death gun because you've got a 6 to save.
It's not even like using a CP reroll.
No.
If you've got the dice that you need,
then you know what it is.
know it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So it takes away any agency from your opponent, and they just go, oh, okay.
Yeah. And they're supposed to be miracles. They should be miraculous.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, you should be surprised by it. It's a miracle. Whereas, no, I know it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, big change there. Commiserations if you are a Sister player and you feel that bites too deep. I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how that actually shakes the faction out now, competitively speaking. They got any other changes?
Triumph of St. Catherine now, each time you gain a miracle die at the start of the battle round, if the models on the battlefield do not roll a d6, it's just a 6. So I think that just changes where you do that.
Yeah, so general unit and rules updates to work with the new miracle dice, reducing range of abilities or increase CP cost. So basically everything to fall in line with the new revised version of the rule. Okay.
They've changed from the CP in the Bringers of Flame detachment as well, up to the cost of some of those stratagems, which my understanding is they were pretty potent.
Yeah.
Bringers of Flame, and I think the Penitent Host you can now choose your ability, which is very nice.
Yes.
Instead of it happening randomly, so that is quite nice. You've got a bit more agency there, which I always think is nice when you can choose, because sometimes when it comes up you're like, oh great, and then sometimes it's like, oh, it's not what you want really.
Yeah, you don't want situational special rules unless they're rules which you can situationally choose to turn on.
Exactly, right. I think any rule like that gives you a little bit more control is nice because you feel you can plan around it and then be tactically prudent in your choices.
Right. Okay, should we move on to Custodes then?
Yes, please. Bikes are back on the menu, boys.
They fixed them.
Well, I don't want to get too carried away.
Sped off last seen circa 7th edition.
Yeah, I mean,
no, they were good at that.
They've had a rough time of it, I think, in 10th.
But they were great.
They
were phenomenal. At one time, they were like...
Yeah. Now, whether or not they've completely come back to being their old, arguably too much selves, they've just had a nice layer of boosts, which I think they really, really needed because they were languishing. They're such an iconic unit.
Well, they're very expensive and they didn't seem to actually be that killy, considering.
They didn't do anything previously. They didn't have enough ranged output. They didn't have enough melee output. They didn't really have a purpose in the army. And when the army is so small, that's a problem.
And they're iconic units as well. So now, first of all, your shield captain on Dawn Eagle jet bike has 8 wounds instead of 7.
Oh,
okay,
so an extra wound, which is in line with other things we'll get to in a second. Then the salvo launcher.
Oh, they're also toughness 7 now.
Yes, they are, yes.
So up from toughness 6?
Yes, so the toughness characteristic has gone up to 7 and the wounds characteristic is now 5. So the toughness of the bike changing and the wounds make sense in line with all that. So they've become tougher. Now their weapons have also changed. Your salvo launcher
is
now strength 10.
Yay!
It's -3.
Yay!
It's D6 plus 1 damage.
Yay!
And it is now twin linked.
And it's AP -3 as
It is
well.
AP -3. So it is now actually a bit more of an anti-tank weapon.
Yeah,
whereas before it was in a weird kind of like a one-shot plasma missile.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
D6 plus 1's great as well.
It's not quite like a las cannon, but the twin linked somewhat offsets it.
Twin Linked is great. A rerolling wound is great.
Yeah. Well, I think at strength 10 it kind of needs to be. If this is leaning now towards more of an anti-armor type thing, strength 10 still isn't like mega. Like you're not going to be, you're wounding Redemptors on 5s, for example. So having the Twin Linked helps.
Yes, it does.
Was it only AP -2 before?
It was AP -2.
Yeah, see that the extra pip of AP really for me is really
it was only flat 3 damage, I think, from memory, whereas now it's D6 plus 1.
Yeah.
Right. So it now feels like if you have a unit of salvo launchers, it's something that Custodes are missing is sort of a bit more potency in the shooting phase. That feels a bit more like elite infantry or anti-tank. So that's a really nice change.
Is there anything more? Tell me a bit more. Is there anything more for them?
The Hurricane Bolter.
Okay, what does that do?
It's gained a pip of AP. It's also now damage 2.
Oh wow.
It's also still rapid fire 3 and twin linked. So you're getting 6 shots per Hurricane Bolter on your bikes.
Nearly heavy bolter.
That is quite nice.
Yeah.
I think it's less flashy than the changes to the salvo launcher.
See, that's quite dangerous what they've done there, because now all of a sudden that sort of makes me feel like, well, that is just the superior weapon. Like, would I rather have, the rapid fire 3, what is it, 6 shot base?
Well, no, three shots base, but with rapid fire 3.
Okay, so 6 shots.
18-inch range. You've got to be with a 9, but you're going to want to be charging with your bikes anyway.
Like that's a lot of DACA.
It's a lot of DACA. And damage 2 and twin linked, it is very nice.
And a pip of 8, it's quite spicy.
It is quite spicy. I like
That's quite nice.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of served up the dish of bikes again, of being like, would you like to take a second look?
They're definitely interesting.
Really? Also, the Quicksilver execution ability has now changed, so it includes normal moves. Because before you would get, if you fly over something in an advanced move, you can do mortal wounds. Yeah. Now it includes normal moves, which is good because before I've advanced and done the mortal wounds, but now I can't charge.
Right.
So
is their base move 10 or 12?
What's that, sorry?
The base move, do we know?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's 10 or 12, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
It's not more
I think it's 10.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, even if it was 14, I mean, it's still giving you a. Look, there's a lot of utility
the
there.
key thing is before you have to advance to get your execution off, at which point you're completely, their main output's in charging. So, and they do get Lance on the charge, they're good, you want them to be making those charges. So I think it was a shame before to sort of, if you want to get a couple of extra mortal wounds, now you can fly over something and go to zone you want. It's nice.
It encourages you to get nice and close for the rapid fire.
Yes.
And then it does put a lot of pressure on your opponent as well, because you're going to be hooning them up the board. If these are being taken in large squads again, they could be very interesting.
Yeah. I like the look of them. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to give them a go. Okay. So no changes then to Admech or Aeldari.
It's so funny looking at Admech and seeing how many changes they had before.
Yeah, they've already had quite a few, so you can rest easy, Admech fans. You don't have to relearn everything again. Aeldari as well is all the same from the last data slate. Okay. And then there are a little couple of changes with Guard. Okay. The first and less exciting one is the precision drop from the Tempest Aquilans.
Guess moved to 6 inches now?
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of like a by the by in line with everyone else. The one that is arguably something to write home about is Leontus now can only order regiment or squadron units. Before he could just do Astra Militarum units.
So no that wouldn't super heavies.
No more super heavies.
Okay.
Which is fine. I think, I don't know, we'll have to see what becomes of super heavies, I think. But it was obviously a bit ludicrous before that he could obviously just give a Baneblade +1 to hit.
Yeah.
I say ludicrous, it was also very fun. But I still don't know where super heavies really exist in the Guard world. I love them. They have a house in my heart that will always be there, but they are becoming increasingly unwieldy. So watch this space, I suppose.
Okay, so that's Guard. So just a couple of little minor changes there. And obviously Aeldari no changes, but we know that these codexes must be en route very soon, given all of the new models.
Imminent, right? Yeah. So
it's interesting to see that Astra Militarum are getting any changes now so close to their codex, because they're the next codex.
Right.
So it's weird that we sort of like slid these in now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because they weren't changing the codex before they got printed. Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly right.
Because this could weirdly then override the code.
It kind of has given me the heebie-jeebies for what's in that book, given he no longer can order super heavies. I'm like,
Can you imagine if a codex is irrelevant day one?
Well, I can. I think that's been half the book so far.
That's just everything, hasn't it?
That's been half the book so far, isn't it? That's why I just look at the app now.
Something,
I literally just
digital rules.
Yeah, to know that I'm looking at the right thing. Okay, so next up we have Blood Angels. Nothing.
Templars.
A little change. And both these changes are arguably spoilers for a later section in this episode.
Spoil me.
The Black Templars Repulsor Executioner now can carry 7 Adeptus Astartes infantry models. Jump packs, Gravis, or Terminators take up more space. Centurions take up 3 seats. This does mean that you can now take 6 Blade Guard and a character in Repulsor Executioner, which is nice. Spoiler being, this also applies to regular Repulsor Executioners. The other spoiler is Crusader Squad melee weapons. Change the armor penetration of combat knives to -1. I'll put a pin in that, and we'll be back later.
Okay, all right. Not going to mention it. Okay, fine. All right, Chaos Knights.
So this is quite an interesting one. So the Harbingers of Dread ability, their army rule. So at the moment, this changes as battle rounds go on. So from battle round 2, this comes into effect. But now, it's all the time. So each model from your army with this ability has the following dread abilities. Those haven't changed, but it means that when battle shock is happening, if it happens in turn 1, it now applies. So it's now just for the whole game rather than going from turn 2.
That's pretty big buff.
It's quite nice. I mean, it's questionable how much battle shock's happening in turn 1.
Sure.
and how many of your knights will be within 12 inches of the model for anything to apply. But if you're not going first and you're facing a combat army, then it could be quite good. Aside from that, the Aura of Terror has changed a little bit. If you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase and the bearer is within range of that objective marker, the objective is said to be tainted and remains under your control. And now, that's until your opponent's level of control over that objective is greater than yours at the end of a phase. So I think it's just changing the wording.
Updating the wording to go with all of the new sticky objective.
Yes, the sticky objective stuff has... the wording has changed ever so slightly, and you'll notice that as we go through some of these wording things. But you basically now have, that is just a bit more of admin more than anything. Okay,
let's move on to Chaos Space Marines. Any Chaos Space Marine fans here?
I'm one. So Screaming Descent for Dread Talons is 6 inches, like everything else.
Okay,
nice. The only other thing, and I feel like this was not required for any reason, because they're already very good. Chaos Predator Annihilators, and this will also go for Death Guard as well. You can now, instead of re-rolling a damage roll of 1 against Morton vehicles, you now just re-roll the damage roll.
Marvelous.
That wasn't necessary.
I think there's particular prejudice against the Annihilator here in the Tabletop Tactics studio because of my affinity to taking 3 of them with my Emperor's Children and repeatedly causing serious damage to every opponent that I faced. I have to admit, I've always thought the Annihilator was a sleeper unit. I've taken 3 with great success, and they've just made it even better for nothing. I'm not going to complain. I think that from a competitive standpoint, though, the argument was that the Destructor was objectively better because it has all of those shots from the autocannon. Having said that, because I had so many shots in my Emperor's Children army, I really liked the extra punch of the Annihilator, and I would occasionally roll a 1 on the damage and be able to... Now I can just re-roll it all the time.
If you roll a 2, you can still re-roll.
Yeah, wonderful.
So... the points haven't gone up.
The points are the same. As someone that has been shot repeatedly with that tank, I would say I don't mind it too much, especially because, say, like in Tau, you can re-roll damage with your Sunforged. Like, rerolling the damage roll is something that has appeared in like other books. So it's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, fair enough, it's in line. That seems reasonable, I suppose.
Sure.
I understand. Let's move on before someone gets upset.
Right, we have. I'm upset. It's cool. It's just so random.
It's very strange.
Do you know what's not cool?
What?
Let me tell you what's not cool. You don't have any Predator variant in your Iron Warriors. And
don't get me started.
You don't even have a Demolisher variant. I'm embarrassed for you. I'm embarrassed for him.
I've got a half-built Vindicator in the back of my car at the moment.
Only 1?
Yeah.
You need 3. You're an Iron Warriors player.
Oh, stop it.
Do you know what an Iron Warriors without a Chaos tank is? Imperial Fists.
That's right. You're an Imperial Fist player. That's right.
Chaos tanks,
you're actually an Imperial Fist player.
I've never been so insulted. Chaos Demons have 1 change, which again is kind of random. Screamers, the Lamprey Bite, they've changed the weapon skill to 3. but they're also anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4+.
Yep.
But weirdly, they've not changed it to the ones pulling the chariots.
Yeah. They're too busy pulling the chariot, I suppose.
It's weird.
It's really
I mean, it's cool, but I don't know why they're anti-vehicle and anti-monster 4. But anyway, good for them.
Okay.
Good for them. The only change... Oh, see.
Oh, hello.
The only change
Yeah.
is to lamprey bite.
Okay. All right,
There we go.
fine.
Speaking of more chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I've never heard that one before. Yeah. Right, Dark Angels.
Oh boy. Well, speaking
Are these
of,
good? Are these big changes?
yeah. Also, speaking of things that are out of date, that poor Dark Angels Codex. Just basically, I don't think there's a single data sheet in it now. It's completely changed.
What an absolute... Oh, let's not get into
Let's not get into
rules.
that.
Between them and AdMech, it's been substantial.
So, as you will all know, I'm a fan of the Raven Wing.
Yes.
Speed of the Raven, no less. We've had some changes. So the Company of Hunters Detachment. The Master of Maneuver Detachment rule used to be units from your army are eligible to shoot and declare a charge. No, are able to just shoot in a turn which they advanced.
Okay.
Now they can shoot and charge after advancing or falling back. It's very nice that. Yeah. It's very nice that.
Oh.
Due to such, some of the enhancements that go along with that have adjusted slightly. So for example, Master of Maneuver as an enhancement, you can reroll advance and charge rolls made for the Bear Arrows unit. Because obviously now that's working in tandem. So also, Samael has had his rule changed because he gives advance and charge. Now if that unit is already eligible to do that because it's in the Raven Wing detachment, he then adds 1 to advance and charge rolls.
Oh my gosh.
So in the Raven Wing detachment,
really good.
They are rapid now.
So fast.
So that's really good.
And
What? There's more? What?
Black Knight combat weapons.
Oh, what have they done?
Got devastating wounds now.
No.
They haven't changed the name to Corvus Hammers. I'd like them to do that. But the Black Knight
Why have
combat
they not
weapons,
changed the name?
I don't know.
Why did they change the
wounds.
name in the first place?
Devi wounds. No, they are already damage
Battle
1.
Hammer.
Yeah, they are
okay.
only damage 1, but still, that all together.
It was.
Yeah, but Devastating Wounds is nice.
bear in
They
mind-
are only 3 attacks. I'm just looking at it here.
But bearing in mind, you've advanced up the board probably with your rapid fire plasma talons.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if there's like a couple of Marines left over, having that extra punch of the Devi wound, remember they are still getting their standard Black Knight stuff on the charge. They're like anti-monster 4, anti-vehicle 4.
Yeah,
so
no, look, I'm on board.
They're
I'm on
hitting
board.
hard.
I mean, these are really significant buffs.
Big changes. Also, given how cheap a lot of the Raven Wing stuff is, it's like, that's good.
It's good. Yeah.
There's one more change. This is very important because it was silly that it wasn't the case. The sweep on fealty of the Lion is now damage 2 again.
That's scary, man.
That is naughty.
That is scary.
16 attacks
With sustained.
at damage 2.
Yeah.
Strength 6 minus 3 damage 2.
Yeah. I think that's too much. 16
Yeah, with
attacks.
sustained hits 1.
16.
I do agree, it seems like a lot. However,
Yeah.
it's a Primarch.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
And I think that's
we're
the thing.
aware it's a
like,
Primarch.
But we'll see how it all shakes out points-wise, but ultimately, like, if you're going to buy a Primarch, same with Angron, like, I'm always happy if it's a Primarch.
It's
It
better,
should
it's
be
a
a
better
lot.
sweep than Mortarion has, I think.
Yeah.
But that's his whole thing. What else has he got? He's got a little pistol.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really do much else if he's not in combat.
Yeah.
And he isn't a demon Primarch, so he's a lot easier to kill.
He's got
He
a
now
better
just-
save than a Demon Primarch.
He does indeed.
The guy's crazy.
Because he's the lion.
His
Leave him
points ain't
alone.
good. Has his points gone up?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
No.
But like, it's just nice that the sweep is damage 2, because otherwise it feels like a sword that size should be carving through Space Marines. It just seems a bit silly before it was like, haha, tickle. But yeah, overall, nice changes from the Dark Angels, which is very, very nice indeed.
Okay. Let's move on to the Death Guard.
So the Death Guard Predator Annihilator can now re-roll damage rolls.
I've never had this before.
The only other change, this is a big one.
The big one.
Mortarion gains Deep Strike.
Wow.
'Cause he's
for me,
slow.
it feels like finally, actually.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
should
I
have
kinda
always had
agree.
Deep Strike,
He
right?
is slow. The main issue with him is his maneuverability.
Yeah.
So now having the option to Deep Strike is massive.
Yeah, that's
because
pretty
you
cool.
can Deep Strike Terminators. Obviously he can't join the Death Shroud Terminators, but being able to Deep Strike close to them for his aura, that now makes him far more usable in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because
Really
one of
good.
his key things is his aura distribution, so the fact you can just kind of throw him like a big grenade,
Yes.
I think is really cool. And very Death Guard.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the Death Watch. No, nothing. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go over to the Drugari. Nothing. Okay, fine. Let's go on to the Genestealer Cults. The Genestealer Cults. Talk about something which has been changed substantially several times.
Yeah, I mean...
right, okay. This is quite a complicated one. Can you boil it down for me in a simple way?
I'll try.
Okay.
I really feel for you, Genestealer Cults fans.
Yeah. I think everyone does at this point.
Because honestly, it feels like they don't really know what to do with the Genestealers.
Now, the thing is, they can be played really competitively, by the way. But
this might put a spanner in the works.
Okay, yeah.
Cult Ambush. As I understand it, having played against Genestealers, I'm not an aficionado, but effectively you roll when something dies to see if it comes back.
That's right, and that's every time.
And that's all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy,
That's now gone.
So that no longer exists. Is
you now have a pool of resurgence points.
Okay.
You get 6 in Incursion, 10 in Strike Force, and 14 in Onslaught.
So I can bring 10 units back.
Wow.
I got 10 points,
now,
right?
As far as I understand...
Right, guys?
I don't think there's any way of gaining more of these points as the game goes on, or regenerating these points as the game goes on.
Okay.
But like you say, if that means you get 10 regenerations, then maybe that's fine. It then has a table of costs for the regeneration points for bringing back units. Aberrants, for example, bringing back 5 of them costs 5 resurgence points. Bringing back 10 costs 8. So if you have a unit now of 10 aberrants and they do perish,
like every Genestealer,
you don't have to roll to bring them back.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, where the thinking was.
Yeah.
But then you spend 8 points to bring back that unit of 10, and then that's it, really. Because, for example, your neophyte hybrids, 10 of them cost 3 resurgence points.
Right.
Now, I don't know enough.
Genestealers 3 for 5 or 6 for 10. So basically, actually,
you're not bringing much
you're probably
back.
only bringing one unit back,
Which
will be your alpha unit, which you spent all the points on.
And my biggest concern about this is I feel this is going to be another thing now that every data slate is going to bounce around values.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's going to be like, oh, this goes down, this goes up. It's like they've now got points to balance and resurgence points. I don't know. I feel if you wanted to get into Genestealers, it's becoming increasingly hard to pick up the army.
It's already a bit of a... If you're starting from scratch, in terms of the time and money you need to spend to get that army ready, it's a very high investment cost anyway.
Yeah, it is.
And what a complicated army to be able to run. It's not, in my opinion, it's not particularly appealing.
No.
Really. It's a bit of a headache army.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, there's some other changes for the sticky objectives and deep striking stuff.
Well, I found that with the Admech as well.
Yeah.
You know, when something's changed and gutted and changed and jumbled so many times, you're just left going, wait, what?
Yeah. I love the aesthetic of
they're amazing.
And the theme. It's great. But I feel like they're sort of losing their theme a bit with the overcomplication.
Well,
I think that the crossfire mechanic used to be cool. That was really cool. That was an ambush.
They've changed their ranges increased for demo charges to 8 inches to probably get it in line with
which is probably
grenades.
good because you're probably only using them like once.
That's right.
So it's like, you know,
Telemorph's rules changed from 12 to 9 inches.
Yes, I think that's to avoid any lone op shenanigans. But overall, I think the key thing is the core changes to Cult Ambush are quite savage.
Well, it's basically it's. Well, I think it's just a massive nerf.
Huge.
It's a massive nerf.
Really?
I'm trying. The only silver lining is you guarantee that one big alpha unit, or if it might be better that you try and actually play MSU and you go right. Well, I'll take units of 5 aberrants, knowing that I could bring 2 back. But I mean, that's my experience. It's not generally how I've seen GSC.
Especially because even 10 Atlan Jackals is 6 resurgence points, and they're
so you can't bring 2 of them back because you've only got 10
easy
in 2000.
to kill. I know that's a big unit of bikes at that point, but they're not exactly like aberrants. I get because they're really hard to shift, but
and your neophyte hybrids, if you take a unit of 20, is 6, so you can never.
And they're just your regular dudes.
Then you're left over with these, with like, it's a tough one, isn't it?
I really feel for you guys. So let us know how you're getting on.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're doing okay.
Not great.
Hope you pull through.
Just not great, is it?
Sorry, guys.
Okay, Grey Knights, nothing.
Nothing.
No. Assassins.
So Collected Assassins, Etheric Emergence ability has just been changed, so it is in the movement phase. I think previously it said when it's set up via Deep Strike. So a small change there, and then the whole 6-inch thing.
Okay. Knights.
Nothing.
Talk to me, Sir Galahad.
They're They're not far away either.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay then.
They're off after Eldar, apparently.
What about the Votann?
Nothing.
Nada.
What about the Beat Boops, the Necrons?
Couple of changes.
Okay.
The Annihilation Legion now gives destroyers a bit of a buff, the shooty ones, which is nice because previously it was a bit of a tricky one. And then your Hypercrypt has received a bit of a nerf. That was one you could pick up and put back down. The amount of units you can do that with has changed now. Incursion is up to 1 unit, Onslaught is up to 3, and Strike Force is up to 2. So that has reduced slightly, so you get less movement.
The Grey Knights still get the 3.
I
Picky-uppies.
believe so, yes.
1,000,
I think it's because obviously we know Hypercrypt's been being used for Catan and the like.
for
I think
nasty
that's
stuff,
probably why. But that's most of the changes there.
Okay, Orcs.
Oh.
What? Is this not?
It used to be wow, now it's like, oh.
I don't know though.
It's fine. The war's now in your command phase rather than the bat around. So I feel like it's a little bit less.
So it's not as defensive.
No, and I think they sort of relied on it a little bit.
Yeah,
5 up in
vulnerable save.
I think they did, and I think that is a tricky one. I think the one thing it does help with, and we've fallen foul of this, and I'm sure many Orc players have, because at the start of the battle round, when you go second, it's you either can sometimes completely forget to call a war.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or you forget you've called it early doors, you don't know where your opponent's going to be. I get the war is supposed to be more of an offensive thing, right? You're like, this is it, boys, here we go. Yeah. So now it's kind of more about that again, about setting up your charges and getting all those benefits. It is a shame now you can't use it defensively to weather the storm, but I guess it does mean you're now always going to know where your opponent is before you call it.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe it feels a bit of a weird side grade, but maybe overall a downgrade because you can't use it defensively.
Yeah.
And some of the changes to Bully Boys and Gaz and stuff have changed in accordance with that.
Okay.
But hopefully it just gives you more control as an Orc player to be able to be like, oh, I want to go for it this turn.
Okay.
You can.
What is quite cool as well, the big hunt attachment
Yep.
used to be you select a monster or vehicle unit, but now that includes character units. So all of a sudden that opens up a huge amount of targets to become your prey. And as far as I can remember, prey, I think you get +1 to wound. Whatever the buff is for the prey.
I think it used to just be the Warlord as well, now it's just character units.
Yeah. So now that opens up pretty much everything,
which is cool.
Which is nice.
It's very nice.
Okay, great. Fine.
And that's all we have time for.
So it is a significant change to the Orc War, but I think we'll have to see how that washes out. I think side grade. But all right, now this is pretty huge.
Oof.
Space Marines.
Space Marines.
Do you want to pause the video and get a fresh beverage?
Okay, right. First of all, the first change that I would like to point out is that your Predators do get to re-roll the damage. Okay, right.
These are all very good changes of Space Marine
Right.
players. There's nothing that's rough here.
No, this is all
which is quite nice.
Okay, can you elaborate immediately on the knives AP? Because you said that you would talk about that. Right, a pip of AP's gone on a combat blade.
I mean, we can do that now. Yes, there's a lot. This is sort of tagged on the end of the Space Marine changes, but it says various combat blades, knives. Change the armor penetration characteristics of the following profiles to -1. Combat knife for the Captain in Phobos armor, Lieutenant in Reaver armor, Reaver squad.
Reaver meta, baby! It's happened.
And Scout squad.
They never know what to do with that unit.
The spoons are finally sharp,
Yes.
which is nice. So the knife the size of your forearm is now AP1, which is very nice.
Yay.
Paired combat blades. For Incursor squads, Lieutenant in Phobos armor and Lieutenant with combi weapon are also now AP1. Okay. So a lot of your stealthy assassin-style Space Marines have all got -1 on their combat knives, and combat knives in general have AP1.
Yeah.
Close combat weapons and intercessors are still close combat weapons, which does make sense. Otherwise, what's the point of a chainsword? So it kind of all comes out in the wash, which is very nice.
Incursor's paired combat blades is quite nice.
It's quite nice.
A lot better in combat
it's a really nice change, and that is, I think, all of the changes you're like, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of changes.
Okay.
Oath of Moment.
Oh.
How could they possibly change Oath of Moment?
So it's the same for the most part.
Okay.
However, and this is good because I think it encourages you or gives something special to Space Marines that don't already have either a separate book, index, or their own fancy units.
Okay.
So you reroll the hit roll as normal. If your army does not include one or more units with the Black Templars, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Deathwatch, or Space Wolves keyword, Oath of Moment also gives you +1 to wound.
Oh! +1 to wound.
Not re-roll wounds. +1 to the wound roll.
So ranged and melee.
Just all just whatever's your moment target.
Savage.
Yeah,
That's
strong.
savage.
That's
Strong.
It's very nice.
Well, Inceptors won't like that, will they?
Look, I think core Space Marines needed something, right? They needed something. And I love this. This is great.
Okay.
This is really awesome. And as per some of the other changes you'll see with the rest of Space Marines, it really makes like the Anvil Siege Force quite exciting. Even Outriders are slightly exciting as well now. There's lots of really exciting things. I think the only thing that makes me a little bit like, oh man, is I would have liked to have seen this, and I'm probably everyone's going to shout at me and want to shoot me with their plasma guns.
Right.
But I'd have liked to have seen this be more specifically like bolt weapons.
Okay.
And add bolt as keyword to certain things. Because effectively, your Gladiator Lancers are just better now.
Yeah.
Your Plasma Interceptors are just better now. Yeah. And your Hellblasters are just better now.
They were already
Which were
things we should
already
get anyway.
things that were good, which
Yeah.
is fine. Great. They probably needed a bit of a leg up regular Space Marines. But I would have liked to have seen it push people like, do I want to take an Assault Bolter?
Yeah.
Do I want to take something else? Do I want to take Intercessors? Like, I would have liked to have seen it sort of make the internal balance maybe a bit more even-handed. But a great change. It's cool. It's very cool.
Hit me with the other change. Is.
The Gladius Task Force had some changes. Fire Discipline as an enhancement. Now adds you can reroll advance rolls made for that unit while you're in the Devastator Doctrine, which is quite nice. Just a little bit of a change. Ironstorm had already changed from the previous one. The Captain in Gravis armor now has damage 3 on his Mastercrafted Heavy Bolt Rifle. That's interesting. Aren't bolt rifles just damage 1?
Yes.
We'll come back to that. You then have a very interesting change. They've done it alphabetically, but it means it's quite hard to read all the changes. We're going to try and group these together. Darnath Lysander, Ironfather Ferios, Caven Shrike, Kasoro Khan, and Pedro Cantor all have a new ability called Inspiring Commander.
Right.
And what that effectively means is if you have a special unit from a specialist marine, Darnath Lysander being Imperial Fists, Kasoro Khan being White Scars, the kind of iconic unit associated to that submarine faction gets extra OC or gets an OC benefit.
Okay, well, that's cool.
So, for example, Lysander, Terminator Assault Squads, and Terminator Squads get OC2.
Okay.
That's nice.
Cool. And you don't have to, it's not just for his unit, it's just that unit in that, if you've got that character.
Wow, okay.
So, for example, because I misread this first, and I was like, why have they done that? Kasoro Khan, if you include this model in your army, until the end of the battle, non-character models in Outrider Squad units get OC3.
Wow.
So it gives bikes OC3.
So it really does buff the whole unit up.
So if you're taking the iconic White Scar,
yes,
the White Scar iconic units, like bikes, get an OC benefit.
Great.
It's a really smart change and a nice way of sort of nice injection of flavour in the arm of Space Marines, which is awesome. So the same applies, like Caven Shrike gives it to jump packs, Ferios gives it to heavy intercessors, Pedro Cantor gives it to Stern Guard. So it all kind of makes sense and it's just a nice little upgrade.
Okay. I noticed that in between all of these characters, there's an Outrider Squad abilities section update.
There is.
Would you care to explain what that is, please?
Well, should we do the heavy bolter first?
Yeah, I'll let you do the heavy bolt rifles.
You're driving around like an Outrider. Crazy guy, you press your turbo boost.
Well, it's just I happen to own like 18 Outriders.
I've got so many Outriders for my Death Watch.
In my Flesh Terrors.
I like how much we're burying the lead here.
Heavy Intercessor Squad ranged weapons. Change the heavy bolt rifle and heavy bolter profiles to heavy bolt rifles now damage 2, baby. That's big.
It is big.
And we just happened to get a bunch of heavy intercessors with heavy bolt rifles for our Imperial Fist army.
Not because of my Death Watch.
It's almost as if we had like a premonition of this, and we didn't, by the way. It's just a complete accident.
Damage 2 on the heavy bolt rifles is massive.
Yeah, that's
very
huge.
nice.
30-inch range. They've got heavy and assault. Damage 2. That is a scary unit all of a sudden.
Because the heavy bolter now is Ballistic Skill 3 as well, which is nice. Where it used to be Ballistic Skill 4.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, especially in something like Anvil Siege Force, where if you've got heavy, you get +1 to wound if you stay still.
Yeah.
That is very nice. If you've got lots of heavy intercessors in an army like that, you've got one that can do oath of moments, they can move forward, and the other ones can stay still and just add a lot of damage too.
I like it.
Very nice.
I like it a lot. All right, can we go to the Outriders now, please?
No, we got to go through the other stuff first. Hold your horses, Outrider. The Infernus Squad The Pyre Blasters are now AP1.
Very nice.
Which is nice. Considering they have Ignores cover, that's very nice.
Okay.
The Inceptor squads, again, get the 6-inch thing as before. The Inferno squad's Incendiary Terror ability, Incendiary Terry, as well as...
Incendiary.
Enemy unit taking battle shocks is now -1 from that test.
Okay,
which is
that's
nice.
cool.
Intercessors.
Intercessors?
The humble
Who takes intercessors anymore?
It's almost like they're not selling any intercessors because they're boring as hell. But target elimination. They have a brand new ability, which is very exciting indeed. When they're selected to shoot, they can use the ability, and when they do, to the end of the phase, you add 2 to the attacks characteristic of their bolt rifles.
So they're 4 shots a pop.
Full auto.
They do have to shoot all at the same target. They can't split with that.
Yeah.
But effectively, they're just like bam, 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 and just keep shooting until someone's dead, which is really quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is quite cool.
It's really quite cool.
Is it cool enough that we start seeing them on the table?
Nope.
No, I don't think when your Hellblasters have got +1 to wound in Oath of Moment.
Yeah, I mean, and even your heavy intercessors now have an extra damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably just see more help.
Also, intercessors are boring. Would you like to go over Outriders? Should we do that now?
Oh, finally! I thought you'd never get to it.
So your current ability is called Turbo Boost.
Yeah.
You know what you can do with that?
What?
Delete it! Put it in the bin! And instead it's replaced with a new ability called Thunderous Impact.
Ooh.
And that means that after you make a charge move, you improve the strength and damage by 1.
Yep. Oh boy.
But then in a Blood Angels detachment,
Yep.
I'll be getting the extra attacks if I take the standard.
Yep.
What's the
Liberator Assault Group.
Yeah, Liberator Assault Group, and I'll be getting the extra attacks.
Yep.
And I'll be getting the +1 strength from this.
Yep.
And I'll be getting the extra damage.
Yep.
Nice that. Now, in my opinion, the way this unit works, that is much better than giving them Lance and much better than giving them like mortal wounds on the charge.
Another thing, what's great about it as well, is because of the way they've done it, they don't get Lance inherently. Yeah. If you want to give them Lance, the Storm Lance detachment, which is kind of for the White Scars, has Adeptus Custodes mounted, can get Lance.
Right,
so the stratagems that give you the extra potency on the charge are in the detachment about Outriders, which I think is a really smart way of doing this, giving them like an ability that on its own is really nice for every Space Marine, but then gets even better when you put them in the Storm Lance. I think it's a really smart way of giving them quite a cool buff. And hey, in that Storm Lance, if you're taking Khazar Khan, no C3.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
It's really cool.
I like it a lot.
Okay.
It would be nice to see the Outriders get expanded out a bit. So you can give them, like a bike captain would be amazing.
Yeah.
We've got the chaplain, obviously, but there's just no,
Khazar Khan should probably be on a bike.
Probably.
Well, but, I mean, it's not really a proper multi-part kit. It was 3 bikes which came in a 40k box set edition release.
Only chainswords, it's a bit of a shame.
I'd like to see, because this with power swords or stuff would be really nice.
Yeah, I want to see like an old Thunderhammer on their power.
That'd be amazing.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Come on now.
Would you like some good news though?
Don't release another unit with Cessor on the end. Do some updates. Anyway,
Predecessors. Reavers.
Oh.
Reaver meta, baby. I've been saying it for years.
Excuse me. Can you confirm that you have 30 Reavers for your Death Watch?
I think I have more than 30 because some of them got carbines. I love them. Right. There's 2 changes to 3 changes if you include the combat knives. So their fearsome assault ability is pretty much the same. So at the start of the fight phase you do battle shock, but on top of that you now subtract 1 from the test.
Nice that.
So they are more scary. And their Terror Troops ability is now different. So now when an enemy unit is within 3 inches of 1 or more units, you should subtract 1 from the OC of models in that enemy unit.
Oh, that's good.
That's tasty.
Yeah, that's
very tasty.
So that's a really good way of shutting down primary points for your opponent.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Very good.
Really,
I think they've now actually become useful for the first time. Who saw that coming?
Okay.
You've also got the change to Repulsor Executioner, as we sort of alluded to in Black Templars. Now has the capacity for 7, which is very nice. Rabute Gilliman, Author of the Codex. At the start of your command phase, select 2 Author of the Codex abilities. Until the start of your next command phase, this model has those abilities. So it's buffed him up quite nicely. Stern Guard now, in Oath of Moment, can re-roll the wound roll.
Like that.
Wow.
Well, let's get in there +1.
+1 to down re-rolling wounds. Stern Guard. That's nice.
That's stern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stern.
I love the Stern Guard. What a cool unit.
The models are
need some
really
of those.
top tier. That's top tier. That's what I'm saying.
Got your combat blades. And then, not Vulcan, he's Stan. We have Inspiring Commander, so Infernus Marines get 2 OC2. Because fire and salamanders.
Yes.
Thus concludeth the Space Marines.
Okay, pretty massive sweeping changes
huge stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I think it will help them.
Yeah.
I think it will help. I like the fact some of the changes as well aren't world-breaking, but are nice for players that there's not technically a White Scars supplement.
Yeah.
But if you take a cool White Scars character, you get like a fun buff
Right.
for your bikes.
Yeah.
Right.
I just like it. I think it's a real shot in the arm for flavour. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Love all.
Okay, Space Wolves, just the knife AP.
Yep, knife AP has changed.
Thousand Suns, the Predator changed,
Yep.
the Annihilator. Tyranids.
A couple of very small changes. So the Assimilation Swarm detachment, which as far as I know, no one really uses. I might be wrong, but that's what I've been told. The only change there is the models in the unit with their detachment roll gain D3+1 lost wounds rather than D3.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay.
And that's it.
Simulator now a Harvester. Trigon gets the 6-inch deep strike change. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
yes.
our resident Tyranid player, Jinx,
Yeah.
was mentioning that particular detachment wasn't necessarily used that often
Okay.
anyway, so it's
Okay.
just a little bit of buff to that detachment.
All right. World Eaters, they get the Annihilator.
Get the Annihilator change.
Prince wording tweak to stop units with a 6-up invuln getting boosted to a 4+. Okay.
Yes, unless they already have a 5-up, in which case, yes, it's wording to stop it sort of double downing and getting extra potency.
Yeah.
But other than that, that is the only change to the world.
I've run out of pages. That's it.
That is the lot.
That's it.
Wow.
Is there anything missing that we feel like should have been added in here? There's one thing that I would have liked to have seen them do.
Oh,
Which is with Imperial agents giving them a little bit of anti-tank. So giving them a Land Raider or allowing other types of units, not just Death Watch, to get the Corvus Black Star. The thing's just a flying inquisitorial eye.
Yeah, it could be used.
It doesn't
for-
have to be Death Watch.
Yeah,
I would have
exactly.
loved to have seen that.
A Land Raider would be nice as well. You could fill it with Death Watch.
Yeah.
Would be really cool. I think overall, it's great that we've got these changes.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But we were saying just before we hit go on this, that is one of those things of like, it is a lot of pages of changes.
Yeah, I mean, this is just over a year of the edition, right?
And I like it because I think
There's just so much, you know.
and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think
It's good that they're reactive.
Exactly, and I think we're in a world where not that long ago it would be you just live in a desolate wasteland with no changes.
Yeah, for years.
And it's nice that they're on the money with it a bit more and constantly changing things and not scared to do quite big sweeping changes. Yeah. It is, however, then brings up the question of if you buy a book, it's a very static medium.
Well, that book over there, Dark Angels, that's almost completely wrong.
All the detachments and two of the most, all three, the Lion, Deathwing Knights, Black Knights, and both of the detachments therein about them are completely outdated.
Yeah, it'd be like one of those like CIA documents that get
redacted.
It's just like black lines through everything.
They should sell Tipex with every code.
This gives more credence to our want of a fully digital rule set.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what they'll do now. If they fast forward, you know, I'm assuming we're going to have 10th edition for what, at least another 2 years, maybe?
Yeah.
And they're like, will they re-release these codexes with the errata published in it? I don't know. But then, would you even want to buy another book again? It's really messy.
It's also, as of time of filming, you guys will be aware that every day at the moment there's these new detachments coming out. And we're going to be doing a sort of roundup of those into the new year once they're all out and stuff. We have some thoughts on what it all means. But I think it's cool that they're doing the changes, but you just hope that they don't then be like, oh, this whole edition. Start again.
I want a 10.5.
I think this is where this is going.
Where everything was consolidated into a published form. Or obviously, if they just went full digital.
Like an annual.
For the most part, I feel like they're doing some good work at rebalancing some things, keeping their finger on the pulse as much as they can do with what's going on, using like the wider gaming audience as a bit of a test hub. But yeah, it's just a bit clumsy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, obviously, hand in hand with this, they did release the Munitorum Field Manual as well, where there are some minor points changes across units.
Not tons.
We're not going to go into those individually because that just takes a little bit too much time, and there was nothing immediately catastrophically significant that we thought we'd do.
It also kind of sounds like the shipping forecast if you go into it in too much detail.
Okay. Well, look, thank you for taking us through these changes, guys. It's an interesting time with these 24 new detachments. I think that's really going to shake things up. Some of the detachments definitely side grade, maybe not relevant depending on the army style that you play, but some definitely significant detachments which will probably shake the meta up. And then of course those sisters changes there as well, pretty substantial.
Feels like we're sort of riding a wave into 40k land again.
Yeah,
it's been a little bit short of stuff.
It's been a bit short of stuff, and we know that Astra Militarum and Eldari are on the horizon. They already mentioned that the Eldari changes will be fairly significant with things like fate dice changing. They mentioned that in the preview at Atlantis. That's going to be really big. And then if they do drop something massive, like if what they're doing with these previews of Emperor's Children are true, and we're staring down, I hope, the silhouette of some slithering, demonic, serpentine Primarch who's fallen to Slanesh. That could be a very exciting time to be battling in the maelstrom of war.
Yeah. Well, what we've seen with the little teasers so far with the helmets is very exciting.
Yes, it is. The whole equine thing going on. Listen, I'm very, very excited about it.
Well, I guarantee you Grey Knights are getting an army refresh as well.
I hope they are.
It's going to happen!
What are you suggesting, like miniature?
Whole range refresh.
That's what you think is going to happen?
Now, it seems crazy.
Don't say this to me. I will flip this table here
it seems crazy.
As we speak.
But the army range is very small, so it wouldn't be a huge upheaval for the design team to do it.
So is this your rumor mill?
There is no way. There's no way they're going to do one character refresh and have all of the tiny dwarf Grey Knight Marines being tiny. They're going to redo all the Terminators. There'll be a multi-part kit to do Terminators or Paladins. There'll be a multi-part kit to do the Strike Marines and the other ones. They're going to do a new, what's his name?
Drago?
Yeah, new Drago. They're going to redo the Dread Knights. They're still going to be carriers like that, but a bit more akin to the Paragon Warsuits where they're not like on the front, they're in it. It's happening.
Is it?
It's happening.
Asterisk, we don't know if it's happening.
No, of course not. But I can feel it. They said in that article, don't worry, Grey Knights fans, when all the Death Watch hullabaloo was going on, you're going to get a new codex next year.
Well, I would.
They can't do a codex and not redo the army range.
It would force
it came out in like 1763.
There are two things which will force me into the hobby hole. One, a Grey Knight miniature refresh. Two, the Emperor's Children. The problem is with the Emperor's Children, I think. I know Fletcher really wants to paint them. I don't know, but anyway, it's all very exciting. My name's been Lawrence.
Your name's been Lawrence? What is it now?
You've been Joe. You've been James. We'll see you in another video with more rants, more reveals, more insights very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Enjoying today's video? Here's a quick look at what we've released this week for our on-demand members. These videos join a huge library of exclusive content that grows every week for our on-demand community. If you want instant access to all of these videos and more, head over to table.tactics.tv or download our app and sign up today. And currently, we have an introductory offer for new customers, so there's never been a better time to join on demand.